Hey everybody, Rhadamant here. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Stationeers. Hopefully, I now have enough minerals that was mined off camera that I'll be able to complete my hydroponics build here. So first things first, let's go eat some cereal bars. As you can see, we are running low. We have 4 left, but I think that's... oh, maybe a little bit more. Yeah. All right, 6 left. That's plenty to finish this project. All right. So let's go ahead and smelt what I've mined. I didn't do that off camera. And we'll put the... mining belt on. And split up some of the... volatiles and oxides, and it's about to be daytime, so let's do this quickly. Let's go ahead and ignite and insert. There we go. Heating up. I'm going to go for the harder to smelt in arc furnace metals first, like gold and copper, and maybe just arc furnace the iron, because it is daytime, and I don't want to run out of my ability to smelt the harder stuff. But maybe that's unnecessary. We'll see how much... nope. Alright. The furnace is already too cool for the iron, so I'm glad I prioritized accordingly. Taking a look at my current designs, we are going to need a lot of cabling, but let's take a wider look. So we need filters, right? We need CO2 filter and a water filter at the very least. So let's go over to our pipe bending. Now there's 3 types of filters. There's 3 different types of size. So if we check for carbon dioxide filter, let's just search for filter. Here's a CO2 filter. A small one just costs iron. If we check again, there should be larger ones. A heavy filter, for instance, costs electrum, which I do not have. And the medium one costs Constantin and silver. Again, I don't have. So we're just going to have to settle for the small filters. They don't last very long, but they're cheaper. So 1 for CO2, 1 for water. Again, the same reason I don't have the bigger ones. The bigger ones are more costly than I can currently afford. But that's fine. We'll work on bigger filters later. So insert the CO2 and the water. Now our system has proper filtration. Let's continue to smelt the iron. Now the next thing we want to do is to start to hook up this beautiful stuff here, right? So we're going to want at least this intake vent to be powered on. At this point, we really don't need our mining belt anymore. So let's switch for a tool belt. And I'm going to grab our copper supply and print up cables like you have never seen cables before. So we are going to need a whole lot of them. That is the current bottleneck to the construction project we've got going on. We have so many cables going, I can't even access the pipe bending. So this pipe bender, I also want to crank out some radiators. We weren't done getting all the radiators that we needed. And this radiator costs gold and steel. I forget, off the top of my head, I don't remember how many radiators I needed, so I'm only gonna make 1 for now. Okay, we need 2 more. That's not too expensive. Okay, so there's the 2 radiators. And this is to cool our base down. Now, I don't have any logic associated to our heaters and coolers, and that's going to be something else I'm going to need to obtain. But before I even bother with that, I really ought to start to wire up the rest of the base. So what I'm going to do is run power to it. So let's go ahead and deconstruct this frame just so that I can work behind it. Now, I don't usually like to put cables in frames because if they burn out, that poses a real pain in the butt kind of problem. So I attempt to minimize that as much as I can. Sometimes you just, for the sake of speed and simplicity, you'll find yourself plopping wires in frames to get around doors and the like. But as I said, it's not something I like to do often. Additionally, this room here could use a light at the top, so I'm going to wire it for lights. So we'll have the cables connect to all the doors. And then we can have a junction here. Actually, we're going to need a 4-way junction. So we can put a light here, run this power down, and as you can see, I'm using cables quite a lot. A 3-way junction here, T-junction, because this will be another vent, meaning that this needs to be a pipe, but we don't have that made just yet. This will be a 4-way junction, and a corner, and powering the panel on. So now we can turn that on if we needed. And powering the doors. Okay, and as you can see, I've made a bit of a blunder. We don't need a 4-way junction there, just a 3. Fix that. All right. So that's all wired up. We do want a light or 2. So let's get some of the lights. We're going to need to move some of the iron in this bench over to the other one. Got it. And we'll make 2 lights. 1 for the airlock, and 1 for the base. We also could use a light out here, but I don't want to use up all our power. So this, I'm just going to have be a teeny little LED light. And we'll do the same. No, we'll do a long angled light here. I think that should keep this room somewhat decently illuminated. Let's see. We can actually plug it in right now. So we'll need a straight cable. No, actually it's running into... Oh, there we go. Is this power and data? Oh, that is, No, that's not gonna work. That's not the cable I thought it was. That is actually the power output of our solar power panels, and all of that power is going straight to the battery, so that light won't work there. So we'll do a long wide then, because the input is in a different spot. Okay. What we really wanted to do is get this vent on, and as you can see, I definitely didn't do that yet. So what I need to do is figure out how to run power there, and I could run power there along this wall like this and connect to the cable over here. That's probably the easiest solution. And now this is carrying power. This has got to be a more junctions, forward junction, and a corner. So now when this gets set to inward and on, it will start to fill up this intake pipe full of atmosphere. I say atmosphere because it's a mix. It's a mix of whatever is in Martian atmosphere. It's not filtered in any way. And then I'll also run cables over here for the ceiling light. I know it kind of looks like a mess, but now this can turn on. Nice and luminous. We're also going to need to run power to these guys here. So one of the issues is we've got some corners to contend with. And then we'll run to the center of the room. And we are just about out of cabling. So we can snake power around the edge of the door there. But let me crank out some more cables. Nope, that's lights. Now, generally speaking, although this is a great big generalization, the data ports are only necessary if you want to control the object from a distance, whereas the power ports is obviously for turning it on. That's a great big generalization. I'm not going to bother to see if it holds true in every scenario, but I would say, all in all, that probably holds true. And now these can turn on as well. And because I cut into the network, it turned off this bench. The temporary disruption to power. Now, I'm not done yet, because I also need to run power over here to these filtration units. So I built them in such a way that the power port should be accessible. I might have to go up and around, which will be extraordinarily ugly, but I don't really see an alternative. I don't want to go down, so I'll go up. And we'll have cables sort of float there. Like I said, I'm doing this so that how I'm designing it is very obvious to an observer. It is not pretty. I might make pretty bases later, but for now I need to make functional and easy to understand ones for your benefit, not so much for mine. Alright, and I think we've made enough cables. Let's turn this off for now. Cables is one of those things that you're going to find yourself in ample need of, which means that copper is in high demand as well. Okay, we definitely don't need to listen to that arc furnace any longer. So this here, actually, let's go ahead and curve this towards me. There. Now, there is a limit to how much power you can have on these small cables. My teeny little hydroponics construction project is not going to exceed the limit, but larger bases would, which is why fuses and the like are useful. Now at this point, I think we can start to fill the tanks up. So I don't have a cartridge in here. Let's go and find the atmospheric analyzer cartridge and put the cartridge into our tablet. And now this tablet can analyze the atmosphere of things. So the atmosphere of the planet is very, very cold, mostly carbon dioxide, a little bit of nitrogen, oxygen, and X, which is pollutant. And if I turn on this vent here, what's going to end up happening is it's going to suck in air from the atmosphere and feed it to this pipe. And this pipe is network 40. Let's keep that in mind. Now, if I walk over here, this is still network 40, right? And this network 40 feeds all the way here. So this is also network 40. And if we turn on this filtration unit, what will end up happening is any gas that we don't want meaning everything but the carbon dioxide gets filtered to this pipe, and all the carbon dioxide gets filtered to this tank and these set of pipes. So basically, with this intake vent on over there, we are slowly and surely filling up this tank full of really cold CO2. I'm going to turn off filtration and turn off this vent until daytime. What I'm going to do instead, because, and the reason is we want warmer CO2, not cold CO2. We want it to be as close to room temperature as possible. I'm also going to need another active vent. So let's crank one of those out. And we just put the steel there. Now this I'm going to use once and then remove. So this one is going to be set right here. And it's going to be used temporarily to pressurize our AC system. So much the way you use Freon, let's turn off our tablet, as a coolant, we are going to be using just standard atmosphere because that's what we have in abundance. So what I'm going to do is run a cable, and we can trim all these cables later on, but temporarily run a cable out to this active vent, fill our piping up with cold CO2, and then remove that active vent because we're not going to need it anymore. So what I'm looking for is any pipes I have left over. I might not have any. Yeah, I'll have to manufacture some. No problem.
Power low.
I'm only going to need one, and I was just given low power warning, so let's switch our battery out. The kit battery will have an easy time filling that portable one. Set this to inwards so it sucks, not blows. And turn that on. And that's going to suck atmosphere into the pipes here. And these pipes are going to be full of really cold atmosphere. And that will allow us to cool our base down. And we're going to leave that to give it, to make it nice and pressurized. It will rupture at some point, but I'm not worried about it rupturing for a great long while. All right, so while that's going on, I guess the hydroponic basins would be good to crank out. The trays. They're very, very iron intensive, so you're going to need a lot of iron for this. Fortunately, I have made a lot of iron. And these are going to go just like this once they're made. And to start, I might have 6 of them. And they carry water between trays. So if the trays are connected, they'll carry water between it. So as I said, I wanted 6. There's 6, and then I'm going to need a few pipes to connect the remaining 3. Two pipes should be fine. So 1, 2, 3. And that's where I'm going to plant my potatoes. So I am a Martian potato farmer. Let's connect these trays together, and that will carry water. I could have used the portable hydroponics, and then it comes with a water tank. What I'm going to do is stick this canister into my water tank so that we have some water. So what I got to do that is first check this shouldn't have anything in it, and it is empty. So we're going to unwrench it. Grab my portable water tank that came in the portable hydroponics. Insert the water. And basically the pressure between these two have equalized. So there's a teeny little bit of water left in this. But unless I want to pump it, it's not coming out. Reconnect. And then if we check, this will be 100% water. Now, because there's a much bigger empty volume in the tank versus the little canister, that's why it looks like the pressure went down. But it's fine, we don't need that much water. And I can always make water by melting ices. Alright, let's go check on our AC ducts. Pressurized enough to my liking, so let's turn this off. I'm going to temporarily put my tablet away, and all this cabling was temporary. The gas inside of our AC ducts aren't going to be used up, so they might warm up, but that's the reason for the radiators, is they will equalize with ambient. And because ambient's always going to be colder than what we want the base, the ambient will always serve to help to cool the base. So we're going to put another vent in there, and let's go ahead and steal this pipe. And this pipe will connect these two vents. And now our airlock is all set. It has everything it needs. It has an out pump vent, or two of them, and it has all the door controls, as you can see. It has a gas sensor, it has an LED, but I'm still not yet ready to go. I know, crazy, right? There's just so much to work on. All right, putting the tablet away. Next up, let's see. We now have the ability to automatically control pressure, but we don't have the ability to automatically control temperature. So we do have a wall heater, and we do have the wall cooler, and the wall cooler now has coolant inside of it, but we don't have any logic to control those things. So what we're going to need is more logic. Your favorite. Now this logic network shouldn't be as bad or as complicated as the power one. So the first things first, we need a sensor. If I could spell it right. There, kit sensor. This will take the temperature of the room. And let's set this up somewhere where we can power it. As you can see, there's a severe lack of real estate. I could put the gas sensor here. And we'll wire this gas sensor to the network so we can take measurements. Next, we're going to need a reader, which is I/O. And we're going to read the temperature of the room that we have. The sensor alone can't be used. We need a reader first. So now with this reader, and let's put the logic along this wall here. So put the logic reader here. And let's make sure that we can wire this up properly. So we're going to want to have it connect to the rest of the room. Yep. Perfect. So this reader will be able to read the temperature. I think what we're going to need is the labeler again. So let's turn this on and name this temperature, or maybe just for short, temp sensor. And this one will be temp reader. And we can set this temp reader, this logic reader, to be the temp reader. So we have to find the input, which will be the temp sensor, and the variable will be temperature. So now if we turn this on, it's grabbing the ambient temperature of Mars. Obviously, that's not what we want. Eventually, we'll have a pressurized environment. Now, with that temperature, what we need is 2 memory. And the 2 memory is going to be a way to set the minimum temperature and the maximum temperature in Kelvin. So what I'm going to do is, above the logic reader, I'll just put my memories down, and let's label them. We're going to label them mem, min temp, mem max temp. So let's decide that 25 Celsius is our comfortable temperature. So I'm going to just go to Google and say 24 Celsius to Kelvin. So that would be 297.15 Kelvin. So that is our acceptable minimum temperature. So 297.15, which will just be 0.1 because it only goes to the single digits. No, it worked. And then the maximum temperature we're going to want is 26, which is 299.15. So we'll set the max temp here to 299.15. Now the next 2 logics that we're going to need are math logics or processors. And what this processor is going to do is compare the actual temperature to the minimum and the actual temperature to the maximum. And that way we can then have the ability to trigger whether our AC or our heater goes on. And the last 2 are going to be I/O again. But I will set my math compares up. We'll set them up like this. 1 compare, 2 compare. And we're printing out our last I/O now. And this is going to be a logic writer and a logic writer. So these maths, this one will be for min temperature. So math min temp and math max temp. And this will be for writer cooler and writer heater. Great. We're going to want to wire them up. And I'm almost certainly going to need more cabling for this. So first things first, let's fix some of the cabling we have already. So 4-way corner would be nice here. There we go. And as you can see, the math compare units have bottom inputs. So we're going to want to wire those up. Actually, this bottom input can be just a corner. And we are very quickly going to find ourselves out of cables. But it's getting wired up. I'd also just got a warning about my filters. If I check my suit, one of my CO2 filters is now fully used up. I have 2 more left, so it's not urgent. But let's also switch our batteries. Probably gonna need more cables in this, but I'm impatient, so. Actually, just about the correct amount. Okay, perfect. The exact correct amount. Get our screwdriver, and the math minimum temperatures could compare the... If the... let's see. If the temperature reader is less than the memory for minimum temperature, which is all set. And this is going to be probably true. And then this one is going to be identical to this. It's going to be temperature reader. Temp reader is greater than maximum temperature, which is going to be false. And then this logic writer is for the cooler, so this will intake math min temp, and then output to the... Oh, actually, it's kind of wrong. This will output to the heater of whether it's on. So the... All right, let's fix this. So this is actually math max temp output to the cooler, once I can find it. Wall cooler, and whether it is on or not. And then this is for the heater. So math min temp output to the heater, whether it is on. So if I've done this right, and let's turn all these on, my heater should turn on. And I can walk you through the logic once again. So before I walk you through the logic, let me get a quick bite to eat. I can just put this in my uniform once I'm done. Oh, I finished the whole thing. Okay, so indeed my heater is on. And because I'm not interested in actually heating Mars, I'm going to turn all these logics off. So what this is doing is it's getting the ambient temperature of Mars. This is comparing that ambient temperature to the minimum I want. And then this is saying if the temperature is lower than the minimum, turn on the heater. And this is comparing it to the maximum temperature. And this is saying if the maximum I want is warmer than the temperature, turn on the cooler. That's all that's doing. All right, perfect. What else do I have left to do? I could... I think I'm just about ready. I could probably get a few more solar... Oof. I jumped in a really weird way, and it broke my suit. So I'm going to patch that up with duct tape. Yikes. And then let's not take any risks, because one more hit and our suit ruptures. Let's go and manufacture a new suit, which is just really, really cheap. It's copper and iron, and I have plenty of that. And we'll also do a new helmet, too. Yeah, every now and then, glitches happen, and you'll end up rupturing your suit. And once I'm done with the suit, that will have to be the end of this episode. This is just about ready to be pressurized, so I guess there will be a part 3. I was hoping to go fast enough to avoid it, but, you know, delays happen. So in order to switch my suit, I just hold 3. Well, let's not do that yet. Because what happens when I switch suits is all of the filters and everything in my old suit all the filters and whatnot will get displaced. So my old suit, I'll just plop it there. So I'm going to have to do this a little quickly or I'm going to suffocate. So what I'm going to do is drop my air tank, drop my waste tank, drop my filter, and switch suits. put the life support battery in, put the air tank in, put the canister in, and put the filter in. So there's still a filter in my old suit, so we'll switch back to the old suit now and drop the filter. Oh my god, it's giving me so many warnings. Drop the battery, switch suits, and we have swapped. Kind of a nightmare UI-wise, but you know, it's a lot easier once you have a base to do this in. Of course, doing this, I don't know how you actually switch suits without a pressurized environment, but I managed it somehow. All right, guys, well, that's all I have for this episode. I'm sure you all have questions. Like I said, once I fully pressurize and I'm starting to grow my own food, I will fully explain everything I've done. So I know it's really confusing, but soon it will be clarified. Thank you all very much for watching. I'll catch you all later. I hope you have appreciated and liked this series so far. If you have, like and subscribe, and I'll hope you tune in next time. Adios.